Merger of equals, I guess, deal, raising some eyebrows in the publishing industry this morning. McGraw-Hill and the education tech company Cengage are planning to merge in a deal that would create the second largest provider of college textbooks. I think it's behind Pearson is number one. For more details, we're joined now on set by the leaders of both companies. Michael Hansen is CEO of Cengage, and Nana Banerjee is president and CEO of McGraw-Hill, which is Nana, that's the old McGraw-Hill.
That's right.
Is now S&P Global, and the education division was an Apollo unit,
right.
right?
So the way to look at it, McGraw-Hill there was always this education arm. That's the 130-year-old arm, and Standard & Poor's was actually bought in the 60s, and that is what became a standalone company, what is now S&P Global, back in 2010, 2011 timeframe. So really, the history of McGraw-Hill is an education solutions.
And Cengage has been around, I'm not familiar, for how long?
Similarly, Cengage, the name came into existence when it got bought from Thomson.
Oh, from
Private
Thomson.
equity bought it from
right.
Thomson, so we were known as Thomson Learning. So the company had been around for about 100 years as well.
So society is not paperless, is it? There are still textbooks.
far from
about half of college curriculum are still physical textbooks? Or?
In terms of, if you think about courses taken in the United States, there are about 100 million courses taken every year. About less than 20% are really digitally enabled at this point. So when you went to college, when I went to college, when our parents went to college, the experience is still the same, which is frankly unacceptable given how much technology has moved on.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to help to bring these two entities together in terms of competing in a very in an environment where margins are shrinking, and I mean, is this a growth story, or is this a economies of scale story?
It's both, but ultimately you can't have a growth story without getting your bases and home-based rights, which is what we're focusing on, that there's a strong synergy case in the commonality of our higher education textbook purpose. We are also in the K through 12 side. We also have a strong vocational presence, what we call professional, and Cengage has a very strong library business. So when you put all these bases together, you bring in your forces, ultimately it gives us an opportunity to invest right back into the business, something we've not been able to do when your margins are shrinking and there is a downward pressure.
You're going to be the CEO eventually, Michael. You're going to leave eventually.
Yes. Eventually, post transition phase.
After transition. Are we moving to all digital eventually? I mean, will there be no textbooks at some point? And this is part of the reason it's hard to continue to make money in textbooks? Or?
Look, Joe, I think whether somebody learns and likes to read something on a printed paper isn't really as relevant as when you're in a course, you want to be able to adapt the content to the individual learner. You might have a very different learning style from Becky, and we have actually the technology to allow us to basically take the content and make it so that you can learn better and more efficient.
As a student, I can choose whether I want the original textbook or whether I want this electronically.
Absolutely,
or...
absolutely. And
can I have both?
The big barrier, you can have both. And in fact, now the big barrier has been affordability. Frankly, for most students, the solutions that are out there are just simply not affordable. They are too expensive. So we made a huge drive in affordability and introduced a Netflix-like model. So why don't you consume textbooks the way you consume Netflix?
Right.
One simple price per semester, $120, and no questions asked.
Is that profitable for you, or is this the same thing like Netflix or all these other companies that are trying to emulate it? If you're a broadcast company that's trying to emulate Netflix, you're losing money on that transaction.
Well, we're not trying to emulate. We're disrupting our own industry. That's the difference.
But every industry that's trying to disrupt itself is also finding that you're trading, what's the phrase, analog dollars for digital dimes. Is that the case with you guys, too?
It is not, because we are actually capturing additional volume. So there are a lot of students out there of the 100 million experience. 80% of them are right now in print, and there is huge opportunity for us to grow. So we're making up with volume, but we're giving the students an affordable experience.
What's the additional cost of putting together a digital book, for example, and some of the interactive components relative to a traditional book?
It's significantly more expensive because it's not only the book that's really the relevant part. The interactivity comes from the questions that you ask and the feedback that you're getting and the analytics underlying it. So you have to invest, both companies invest to the tune of $150 million a year into our digital platforms. And together, it allows us to actually do more of
But
that.
you're also able to rid yourself, hopefully long-term, of the used book market, right? And that's a huge component of this, right?
Yeah.
Is capturing that piece, the used piece.
Yeah. It's
So
you know,
there is
it's
no
very
used piece.
Andrew, it's very similar to the music industry. Remember the days like in the early 2000s when everybody was stealing music online, you know, Napster, etc. Now nobody does that anymore. Why? Because it's affordable. They can do streaming
Netflix,
service.
Like people share their passwords with all kinds of people for Netflix.
Exactly.
You
Well, yes,
have
you have to.
examples where there are way too many people sharing the passwords.
The good thing about this is, Becky, people like to share passwords. People don't like to share grades. Because we have the grades, but you don't want to know, you know, what Joe's grades are, and you
So
know,
it's
and
tied
he
to
doesn't
some
want-
privacy component that will keep people from sharing.
Exactly.
Are you eventually going to bring this public? McGraw-Hill would be a good entity to come out and IPO.
You know, I think it's one of the possibilities, but
You
what
gonna
we are
take care of Nana? I mean, you got some. You gonna be holding something if this comes out.
I would love to have the opportunity. It's something that's very much.
Don't forget
I will
him.
always take care of Nana, Joe. I will always take care of
You
Nana.
sure?
But I will tell you, I think the first thing we've got to take care of is our customers, and these
Yeah.
are the students,
Good
and that's
answer.
what we're focusing on right now.
You talk about how we learned. I stopped learning. It was like 10, 12 years ago, I think. I said, I don't
Yeah, we
need
know.
any more. Yeah, you do. I don't need any more. I don't. I'm all full.
I don't believe you. You learned from Becky.
I
I'm sure.
learned from and I learned from Andrew. We both learned from
Look,
each
I
other.
do have to say that's a great part
I'm
of
full.
this job is you learn something every
I'm up
day.
to here with stuff, learning.
That's
It's like,
how you stay young.
I don't
You have
need
to
it.
learn every day.
Really?
Honestly, yes.
There you go. That's my problem.
No. You're
No,
being.
I am.
You're
I am.
being
It is
flip, but
you're a little less, willing to learn new things. The old dog, new tricks.
Sure.
You've heard that, right?
Sure. But
You keep telling yourself I'm still learning. It's nice. It's
You
good.
are.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
thanks.